Hi, freaky friends. This is Colleen.
And this is Margaret. And
And
we're the Cousins Weird.
And we're virtual because life is crazy, but we're here. And we're tired.
Yeah.
But we're doing this. And it's going to be a good one. So this is Terrible Trend, I think number 49. Which, cool.
Yeah.
40, we almost hit 50 terrible trends. Can you believe it?
We should do something special next time.
We should.
Well, it's my trends, but...
It's your trend, so you better do something special.
Oh, God.
So, tonight, because we're at nighttime, we're going to talk about the gelatinous 50s and 60s.
Oh, no.
We're going to a food trend.
Oh, no.
So, the cookbooks of the 50s and 60s are filled with food encased in gelatin.
Oh, God.
And I'm not talking about sweet dishes either. I'm talking about savory ones. And why was this so popular, you might ask, Margaret? And I'll tell you why. World War II happened, and it spurred the industrial food boom. So they were making food that would stay fresh longer so they could feed the troops, right? So they were like dehydrating and freezing and doing all these things, basically making field rations. Right. So that the troops, and there's a book called Something from the Oven, Reinventing Dinner in the 50s by Laura Shapiro. And in it, she said, when the war ended, the packaged food, there goes your tweet. It hadn't gone off the last episode. I'm kind of disappointed. Nope. When the war ended, packaged food companies knew they needed, because they had all this packaged food, like this stuff, because they prepared it all for the troops and the war ended. So they knew if they didn't get America to want this food, they would go out of business, go under, and they didn't want that. So they developed ways to convince Americans that they liked the taste of this stuff and they wanted to eat it, such as frozen dinners and canned meat like Spam were being pushed out onto the regular civilian. Industrial food allowed busy housewives to be able to take care of their home, keep up with their family, and do all those things, and not have to stand at the stove to make all these, homemade meals, wearing everything from scratch anymore. However, there was a big taboo about being a lazy housewife back then. So you couldn't just put out the prepared food. You couldn't just give your husband a hot dog on a plate. You had to doctor it up so you weren't considered a lazy housewife. So they started doing things like pigs in a blanket. So they take these pre-made stuff and then like doctor it up, right? So that it will look like they hours in the kitchen when they didn't. So these companies that were making these foods started making their own cookbooks. And they were called can opener cookbooks. Is kind of what they were coined as. Right. So the food companies would publish these cookbooks to push their products. And some of the craziest recipes came from these like brand specific cookbooks that would try to push their products into every meal you ever wanted to create, right? So everything in it is something that they made. So the magic behind it all was the presentation. That was the key, the heart of the meal. It wasn't that it tastes good, is that it looked cool.
Yeah.
This led into the molded gelatin-based dishes becoming a staple in every household of America, combined with the fact that instant jello was invented in the 50s. Before that, it was really a big process. So having the fact that gelatin became instant at the time really just showcased it. It was considered the most versatile food in the kitchen ingredient.
Yeah.
You could use it to make food more flavorful. You can get rid of all your leftovers by throwing them into it. They were low calorie food, and food suspended in jello stayed fresh longer. And that includes meats, vegetables, and even sandwiches. Just throw them in the jello. It's fine.
It's so disgusting. I mean, there's jello that's got the flavors and the orange and the lime and the cherry. And then there's like gelatin, which is unflavored. But I think that they were using the sweet flavored ones with the sugar.
They were using both.
Okay.
They were using both, yes. Even people that thought they were kind of gross, like it didn't matter because every cookbook you got had it in it and everyone was doing it. And you had to show up to the potluck with some kind of jello molded dish. Like
Jello molded salad. I remember my mom making them in the 80s.
Yeah, well, then in the 80s, the jello molded salads were sweet, not savory.
I remember there was one I had somewhere. I don't know if it was mom made it, but it was like orange jello and it had grated carrots and raisins in it. And it was just like ruined my life.
It's disgusting.
Raisins and carrots and jello. I'm like, no. And I ate it, but I didn't like raisins really.
Let me tell you though, at my job, the kitchen there, because there's a kitchen that cooks the food for the children. And when I was in the classroom, they made the most grotesque thing. It was carrot raisin salad. It was carrot raisin, mayonnaise, and cinnamon. And I wanted to die.
I remember them serving that at school for Halloween.
Why do they serve? Schools think that's a good idea. Or maybe it wasn't mayonnaise. Maybe it was yogurt. I don't know what it was.
No, it's usually mayonnaise. It's like a mayonnaise. But think about like Waldorf salad. I freaking love Waldorf salad. And you think about what's in it, it's gross. It's apples, and celery, and walnuts and dates in mayonnaise.
My grandma made that, and I loved it.
Oh my God, it's so good. Like, and now I'm thinking about it. I need to make it and eat it.
I know. I haven't had it in years. We used to have it for every holiday. My grandma made it. I should make it this coming up holiday, whatever comes up.
Mother's Day. It's a perfect Mother's Day stuff.
Yeah, I should make it. So anyway, not to get off track, but we're talking about gross food, so it worked. So even though people thought it was gross, you just ate it and did it anyway because it made life go round at the time. Jello molds were the perfect for parties and potlucks at church. Molded salads were all the rage with veggies. Throw in some veggies, some hard-boiled eggs, and some meat for your social function.
Ew.
Now, I'm going to share some recipes that were popular at the time. This is where it gets real good. First, it's called the perfect salad. It has unflavored gelatin, sugar, apple juice, salt, vinegar, shredded carrots, sliced celery, shredded cabbage, chopped green pepper, and 1 can chopped pimento.
Oh God!
Oh,
you just thinking about it. It's awful.
Put it in a mold, and it's all suspended in there, Margaret.
Oh, it's bad.
The next
suspended in like tonic immobility or something. I don't know. It's just like there, like slightly jiggling, looking menacing. Like,
oh, they don't get better. This one sounds good. Jellied potato salad.
Oh God. No.
Take lemon jello, vinegar, salt, cucumbers, radishes, and a well-seasoned potato salad and mix it all up in a mold.
Oh, gross. That is so gross. So it's like a mayonnaise potato salad.
Huh?
You're talking about a mayonnaise-based potato salad?
Yes.
Like, how do you mix that in with jello? What does it do?
It gets chunky. I don't know.
Gross.
Oh. Then there was the peach cheese salad, which was... Well, this was probably isn't that bad, really, if you think about it. It was raspberry jello with peach halves, like suspended in it, and then you cut it into squares, and then you served it with a cream cheese ball.
Oh, that's not terrible. Out of all of them, that's like the most appetizing. I still wouldn't eat it because jello's gross, but that sounds the least putrid of the ones you've said.
Well, here's one that's real putrid.
My kids would eat that. They would love that.
This one will make you want to die.
The
jelly veal ring.
Oh, God.
Now, not only is it veal inside the jello, you eat this cold.
Oh.
It has veal that's been cooked off the bone and chopped up finely with green olives and hard-boiled eggs. and then you mold it in the fridge and then just cut it off and eat it cold, and it's served with boiled potatoes and pickled beets.
Gross.
Can you imagine your breath after
that? Imagine your bowels?
It's just not good for you.
That can't be good for you.
Now this is real horrible too. Seafood aspic. And
aspic is what they call the gelatin, like the unflavored gelatin ones.
It means suspended in jello, basically.
Yeah.
This is seafood, so you have to use lemon jello, of course, because that makes sense.
God,
lemon jello.
Sugary. It's gonna be sweet. It's just no.
Lemon jello, tomato juice, vinegar. Worcestershire, horseradish, celery, scallions, green pepper, crab meat, canned crab meat, baby shrimp, and mayonnaise.
Oh, I'm gonna throw up. This is the most disturbing one we've ever had. It's just awful.
Margaret. Get you back my God. You want to die.
Oh,
this is the grand one.
You know what? I would pick a tobacco smoke enema over that. Having to eat that. No, stick that thing up my butt and blow smoke up because I'm not eating that shit. No.
This is the one you probably seen a lot of pictures of. I think it's something that was in like every cookbook. It was super fancy, and you were super fancy if you did it. It was seafood mousse.
Oh.
Mousse is a sweet dessert. Don't be putting seafood in it.
Like when you say mousse, I instantly think chocolate.
Yeah, like that's why I want my mousse.
Not salmon.
So this is gelatin, which is unflavored at least, mayo, lime juice, grated onion, salt, finely chopped fish such as tuna, capers, tarragon, heavy cream that's whipped, carrot strips, and sliced olives, and it's put into a fish mold. So when you put it out on the plate, it looks like a fish.
Oh, it's so gross. So what's with the tuna fish in it? Just sort of like, no. Yeah. I don't want that anywhere near me. I don't want to have to smell it or look at it. No thanks.
So whatever you do, though, don't look up brawn head cheese.
Oh.
Do you want to know what it is?
Sure. Do I? Probably not.
It's meat from a pig or calf head that's cooked and pressed into a pot of jello.
Oh, so gross.
Head cheese.
Yeah.
Brawn head cheese. No thank you. So it was still popular, like the 50s, it was going strong into the 60s. It was still so popular that they decided to introduce specific savory flavored jellos. They had celery, Italian salad flavor, mixed veggie flavor, and seasoned tomato flavored jello that were on the shelves until the mid 70s when they decided they weren't selling anymore and they stopped making them.
People didn't actually like any of that shit. They just made it because it looked fancy, and nobody ate it.
No one's eating that. And then by the 1980s, diets had changed. You know, people were changing the way they ate, and fresh salads and not jello-filled salads became popular. And women were entering were in the workforce working at this point, and they were like, you know, busy. The 80s was a working woman, you know, it was a big thing, and they didn't have time to fuss around with jello molds and shit. They were like, I don't have time for this. I've been working all day with my shoulder pads. I spent all morning in my hair. I spent all day working
up those shoulder pads all day.
She could be fussing about with jello molds. At that point, dinners, it started turning towards more the microwave meals and microwaved options. And they needed more convenient food than suspended in jello. And jello was smart, and they thought, well, let's rebrand a bit and start putting our focus back on sweet stuff and snacks for kids. And then you had the jello pudding pops and all that happened.
Jello jigglers.
And jello jigglers of the 80s, that's when things changed. But for 20 years, people were making jello everything. And it's
Colleen, there is a Jello mold that is the most famous of all. It was the one in National Lampoon's Vacation that was green with cat food in it, which is probably more appetizing than the one that you had described with the tomato juice. No thanks.
Yeah, I'll eat the cat food first. And then cousin Eddie thought it was good. He was getting
the lemon Jello with the fish in it and the tomato juice. Like,
yes,
no, that's just gross.
Horrifying.
Cousin Eddie would have loved it.
And you know pistachio salad. We used to love that when we were kids.
Oh my god, yeah, I still make that.
And I always wondered why it was called salad, because it's like not. But that's why, because they used to call everything they put in Jello a salad. It was and in the 50s, everything was about
that was pudding though. That one's made with now you make it with pistachio pudding. My kids love that. I actually still make it because it's nostalgic, and my mom still has the same glass bowl that we made it in as kids, and I'm like, oh, we gotta have that.
Yeah.
So
well, the thing about it was that they in the 50s too, they really wanted everything to be clean and sleek. Everything had to be, and the Jello was like the neat, tidy way to serve things. It was another mindset. And gelatin actually has been around since forever, forever and ever and ever. They figured out how to do it. It was very much a status symbol, because to create clear Jello was a big deal, and people in the house that royalty were eating it, gelatin based stuff. And actually, when Marie Antoinette was caught in her trying to get away in her carriage, she was eating some kind of gelatinous thing.
Crazy.
Which I read, which was interesting. But you had to keep it cold too. So it's another thing. People didn't have a way to keep things cold unless you had a lot of money. So
back then they had to boil the bones to get the gelatin out.
To get it clear was really difficult. So it was a whole process. So it really was a status thing, and it was very much a French thing. So one of the other things was they made it sound like it was this classy thing that you're bringing French into your own home, French cuisine into your... No, you're not. That is not what they were doing. That is disgusting. That is not French cuisine. That fish loaf thing is not the seafood glue that you put on the table is not French cuisine.
Oh, I can't even think about how awful that looked and smelled. Because they were all served cold.
Yes, they had to be. Oh. And I can't wait to share the pictures of some of these things. They're so horrifying. Why would anyone eat that? Did they? Oh my god! And can you imagine? They're like, "What's for dinner, honey?" And they're like, "Oh, I made this." What was the first one I talked about?
I don't remember. They're all bad.
I made a jellied potato salad. No, that wasn't it. I made
carrot one.
I know. I made a jellied veal ring for dinner, honey, and here's some boiled potatoes and pickled beets. Now I love me some potatoes and I love me some pickled beets, but I'm not gonna have it with a freaking veal ring. Thank you.
So gross.
Disgusting. Ugh. And they sold all those molds. Remember, everyone had them in their kitchens hanging up.
My mom had those copper ones. They were on the thing. Yeah. And she'd use them occasionally. She baked cakes in them sometimes.
Baked cakes in them, yeah. She wasn't making veal rings. And
I remember her making Jello salads for church. We had that birthday social thing. I remember her doing it a couple of times.
For a church, there was a Jello mold salad involved.
And it was usually made by some woman who was 80. What?
But they weren't savory. They were usually a sweet salad.
Right. And every woman that made them was almost 100.
Right. Because they were in the 50s making them for their husbands for dinner.
And they're feeling fancy.
And they were ooh.
I didn't mind. When I was a kid, I loved the fruity Jello things. If you get the Jello, the orange Jello or the strawberry Jello with the strawberries in it.
Yeah,
and the bananas in it and the little mandarin oranges. That was great.
I never liked Jello. I was grossed out by Jello. Just the texture. It was a texture thing.
I didn't mind it.
Jello. If it was mixed in like a pie or something, and that was fine. But I couldn't just eat a spoon of Jello. Ooh. Couldn't do it. Throw some whipped cream in it though. I do kind of like that.
Oh yeah.
Put whipped cream on anything else.
Whipped cream makes everything taste better unless it's a veal ring.
Yeah. Don't be making what was the other one? Seafood aspic or
the mousse. The seafood mousse is the whipped cream
and then putting whipped cream on it. They also would make frostings and glazes to put on top of them.
Oh.
So they were savory dessert looking things. No.
That's so gross.
Yuck. So that's the tale of the gelatinous 50s and 60s. You know, Rich and I were talking, and I was like, I don't know. I got to figure out a terrible trend this week. He's like, talk about the weird obsession with frozen TV dinners in the 50s and how gross they were. And I was like, oh, no, I'm going to talk about the gelatin. Everything was jello. I'm going to look that up. So I was kind of inspired by my husband, but I was like, I'm going to start doing some bad food trends. Yeah, I like that.
Good idea.
So make sure you follow us on Facebook and Instagram, because if you're not going to see the cool pictures of all these gross foods that I want to share with you. And you also want to do that because we're going to be at AnchorCon this year, in August 19th and 20th. And we're going to be recording one of those days. We just don't know the exact date yet. So if you're following us, you'll know right away because we'll post it on there. And you can also share with your friends on social media our episodes because they go on there. So save the date for AnchorCon. It's in Clayton, New York. We're going to be there at a table all weekend, but we will be recording live, and it'll be in front of a live studio audience, just like some kind of syndicated TV show.
Yeah. Amazing. So exciting. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can send us a direct message through Instagram or Facebook, or you could send us an email through or at thecousinsweird@gmail.com. We'd love to hear any kind of weird stories you might want to share with us, or some strange tales from the Dollar Tree or Walmart, because those are fun and we'd love to collect some of them. So let us know.
Whole episodes on those are fun.
They are.
And then if you want to support us, always word of mouth, telling your friends about the Cousins Weird, because if you like us and listen to us, your friends are probably weird like you and us, and you might want to they want to hear it too. But you also can support us at patreon.com/cousinsweird for $1 a month to become a freaky friend, and you get a sticker and bonus episodes. For $5 a month, you become a terrible trender and you get the same things, but you also get ad-free episodes, additional to those, you get ad-free episodes, a monthly chat.
Yes.
A yearly gift. There we go.
Yes.
And it's almost 10 o'clock at night and I am delirious.
Yeah. My bed's calling to me.
I'm in my bed doing this. And it's like, lay down, Colleen. Put your head on the pillow.
You're like, I'm halfway there.
All right, friends. I think that's it.
All right. Stay freaky.
Bye. Bye.